Some of the most valuable lessons that I've learned in life and in business, I've learned while I was on a construction site. And some of the people that taught me those lessons didn't even know that they were teaching them. I want to tell you the story I like to call the shingle toter. We were on a job site plumbing a house, and we had to get the plumbing stacks up through the roof so the roofers could put their roof jacks on them and finish up. But we didn't want to be on the job at the same time the roofers were going to be there, because it's so loud whenever the roofers are on the job. It sounds like a fireworks show. I mean, there's nail guns going off, there's scraps of shingles flying off the roof, air compressors going off, and all that put together, it's just loud. You're in a house and they're on top of you on the roof just nailing down shingles, and it's just not a place you want to be. Anytime you do a top out, what we call, you don't want to be there at the same time with the roofers. We pull up to this job and the roofers are there, but we can't leave because we got to get our plumbing stacks up through the roof so they can finish their job. So you got the roofers up there on the roof, and you got the shingles down here that have been delivered, and they're on a big pallet. The only way to get those shingles up to those roofers is a rickety extension ladder that's leaned up against the house. And there's one guy that's walking back and forth, just taking a pack of shingles and throwing them over his shoulder and walking over and going up the ladder and taking the shingles. And that's all he does all day long. And the whole time he's doing it, he's just got a terrible attitude. He's cussing at the guys on the roof. He's talking about his old lady. That's what his old lady, they're fighting. He can't stand the guys he's working with. He's just dog cussing them, and it's funny to listen to. And I was actually just, it was entertaining to me. They're telling him to hurry up. He's telling him to shut up, among other words. I got to keep it G-rated because I don't want to cuss. But it was just a sight to behold. And just, I don't know how good my attitude would be either if all I had to do all day long was tote shingles up a roof to guys that didn't appreciate me anyway, and all they wanted me to do was hurry up. The owner of this roofing company, he would always sit in his truck and make fishing lures while the roofers were working. And he wore these bifocals, and he'd just sit in his truck all day long making these fishing flies. And anytime the guys would disappear over the back of the roof and he couldn't see them for a while, he'd beep the horn. And they'd have to stick their head up. Hey, I'm still here. He wanted to make sure they didn't run off or something or quit and whatever. It was so funny to hear that horn beep, and they'd stick their heads up, letting him know they were still there. But so I walked over to him. How do you put up with somebody like that? It's like he'd heard this over and over, and he was still making his fishing lures. And he just looked up at me over the rim of his glasses. And he said, "Son, if I fire him, who's going to tote the shingles?" And he just went back to making this fishing lure. What do you expect is kind of what he was saying. What is it that you expect? What job description did I give the guy? Like, if he's doing his job that I told him to do, that's all we're worried about. I mean, this guy was not customer facing. There was not a customer around. That's not what he's supposed to do. His job was to tote shingles from point A to point B all day long. And if he was doing that, leave him alone and let him do his job. The guy set me straight. He was like, "Hey, this is the one thing that he's supposed to be doing. And if I don't have him, then somebody else has got to do it. It's not going to be me. And those roofers don't want to come down. Those roofers may be talking noise to him, but they don't want to do it either. So you just have to be mindful of that. That if somebody's doing their job and they're doing everything that you told them to do, you got to leave them alone." It'd be great if he had a great attitude, but that's not a prerequisite of a shingle toter. From that guy sitting in the truck making fishing lures, and he didn't even know that he was teaching a lesson. He was just saying, "Man, I'm not gonna let that go because it's not gonna be me, It's not gonna be me that pick. I'm not carrying shingles up the roof. I want to sit here and make fishing lures. My company is running just fine. I don't need your input about whether I should fire somebody or not. That was just an important lesson. I call it the shingle toter. I hope that you found it entertaining, because I did, and it makes me laugh every time. Every time I tell the story, and every time I get the reaction from somebody that's like, man, he ain't wrong.